Alrighty. So eventually I need start cards, but welcome to MTG Anonymous, your favorite place for historic and EDH nonsense. So today I have an old deck that I had made that I forgot to make a video on, so I guess I'll do that now. This is Terraforming Chaos. We are using Sultai colors, so blue, red, green, to destroy our opponent's lands, draw as many lands as we can get, and then use Nissa, who shakes the world, to defeat our opponent. So I'll go ahead and ask for your likes now. Eventually, I'll have the graphics done. I have an editor coming soon where it'll say how many people watch each video, but whatever. Let's go ahead and get into the deck. So first off, we're going to start with the 2-drops. There are no 1-drops in this deck, so we never have a turn 1 play, but that's okay. Path to the World Tree, you all know what it does already. For 1 and a green, when it enters battlefield, search your library for a basic land card. We have 15 of those. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So we will almost always have an extra land to play on turn 2 or turn 3. Nissa's Triumph, again, for 2 green, search your library for 2 basic cards, basic force cards. If we have a Nissa, we can search for 3 land cards, so not basics. So that would get us our multicolors. The World Tree is an excellent one to grab. Growth Spiral, so once we've used Nissa's Triumph and Path to World Tree, we'll use Growth Spiral to play an extra land on our turn. For green and a blue, it's an instant. Draw card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Courier's Briefcase. This card doesn't actually necessarily need to be here. We could actually replace it with a Growth Spiral. But this gives us a token which allows us to block a couple times. So for 1 in a green, Artifact Treasure. When this artifact enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. So obviously it's a treasure, so we can tap it, add 1 mana, or tap, sacrifice it, add 1 mana of any color, and then for Wooburg, sacrifice it, we get to draw 3 cards. So this will be able to refill our hand if we need to. Liquid Metal Coating, one of my favorite cards for 2. It's an artifact tap. Target permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types until end of turn. So what does that matter? So obviously you know what Karn does, so actually, I'll wait before we get too excited and go over the next one. So, Stone Rain for 2 and a red, destroy target land card. Obviously, we want to go after our opponent's non-basic lands first, and then whichever color they have the least of. This allows us to keep our opponents off of certain mana colors that we don't want them to be on, especially if there's like black for discard, green, because we don't want our opponent to be ramping, then blue because we don't want our cards, we don't want them countered. This deck does not hold well against mill, so we want to remove blue and black first and then green. And then, since we were talking about destroying lands, let's go over the other ones in this deck. All of these are 4-drops, they're all 3 in a red. So Demolish, you can destroy an artifact or land. Rebel Reading, you destroy a land, scry 2. Smashing Success, destroy an artifact or land. And then if an artifact is destroyed, we get to make a treasure token, so that'll help us ramp if we need to. Tectonic Rift for 3 in a red. Sorcery, destroy target land. Creatures without flying can't block this turn. So after we've made a whole bunch of tokens with Nissa, then this will allow us to make it so that they can't block. We just swing in and win. The other 4-drops in this deck, Mythos of Alunia for 2 blue. Create a token copy of target permanent. If red-green was spent to cast this spell, instead create a token that's a copy of that permanent, except the token has when this enters, if it's a creature, it fights up to target 1 target creature you don't control. So we use this to either copy a big beater that our opponent has just to keep them from swinging at us, or we use it to copy one of our planeswalkers that either doesn't have enough for the minus ability or like it's already been used for the turn. We want to make another use of it. Stimulus Package for 2 red-green. When it enters battlefield, create 2 treasure tokens, and then sacrifice a treasure. Create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token, scry 1. So this allows us to use the different token generation that we have, it's a little bit, and create 1/1 so we're able to block. This is really a last resort type of option, but it is important because it will allow us to keep our opponent from killing us. Eureka Moment for 2, green, blue. It's an instant. Draw 2 cards. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Again, Nissa's Triumph, Path to the World Tree. These are going to allow us to have more lands in our hand, so we'll be able to play those once we get to that point. Karn Living Legacy for 4, Legendary Planeswalker Karn, the +1, create a tap Power Stone token for 0, pay any amount of mana, look at that many cards from the top of your library, then put those cards into your hand. Put one of those cards in your hand, and then the rest of them go into the bottom of your library in any order. And then 6, you get an emblem with tap an untapped artifact you control. This emblem deals 1 damage to any target. So what is this card doing? So really what we want is we want to make as many Power Stones, which it's tap and add colorless. This can't be used to cast a non-artifact spell. So we really want to make as many Power Stones as we can and then use the emblem ability. Or we can also use the colorless mana from those Power Stones to pay for the mana for Karn Living Legacy. We want to use Karn's Living Legacy to search for Karn the Great Creator, or if we already have Karn the Great Creator, we want to search out Liquid Metal Coating. And the reason why is they have a synergy that is very important for this deck. Karn the Great Creator for 4, Legendary Planeswalker Karn. Activated abilities of artifacts your opponent control can't be activated. So +1 until your next turn, up to 1 target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power toughness equal to its mana value. And then -2, you may reveal an artifact card you own from outside of the game, or choose a face-up artifact you own in exile and put that card into your hand. So what is this card doing in the deck? So first, we have multiple liquid metal coatings, even though we can only use the +1 ability once. Every time we will stop at our opponent's upkeep, tap the liquid metal coatings to stop either creatures from using their activated abilities or preventing our opponent from using the lands that they have. Interesting, right? And then if we use liquid metal coating on a land our opponent has on our turn, we can turn that into a artifact creature because its mana value is 0, its power and toughness become 0, and it dies. So that means this is another way to destroy another land each turn. And then the -2, we have a sideboard. We'll go over that in a second. Really, all of the cards in the sideboard are great pull-ins, especially since the liquid metal coating is in the sideboard as well. And then last but not least, Nissa, who shakes the world. We have enough of these because more than likely we're going to get her out on turn 5. Or turn 5, turn 4. The earlier we get her out, better. For 3, green, green. It enters with 5 loyalty. It's a legendary Planeswalker Nissa. When we tap a forest for mana, add an additional green mana. So that helps us out with Karn Living Legacy. +1, put 3 +1/+1 counters on target non-land creature you control, or non-creature land you control. Untap it. It becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with vigilance and haste. That's still a land. So this means we make a beater, or we make an additional 2 mana on our turn. And then once we get to the -8, preferably -9, preferably 9, we use the -8. You get an emblem with lands you control have indestructible, and then search your library for any number of forest cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So this is really good because we're able to grab the non-basic forests out of our deck too. But we would basically grab all the lands that we have in the deck, play them, and now we can just spam land removal cards. So if the deck works as it should, we should keep our opponent off of enough lands to keep them from casting creatures. So Nissa should easily get to the -8. And then hopefully we get another Nissa in our hand after we use the -8. So now we've brought a whole bunch of lands in. We're able to play Nissa again. We're able to make another creature into a elemental. And last but not least, we have our lands, but none of these are super important. Really, we just want the fast mana. We want one of each color at least. There are no, other than green, there are no pips that appear more than once. So once we get 1 blue and 1 red, then really we're going to focus on getting as many forests as we can. And for the sideboard, Liquid Metal Coating, we went over that already. Cosmos Elixir for 4. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card if your life total is greater than your starting life total. Otherwise, you gain 2 life and scry 2, or scry 1, excuse me. We'll almost never be at our starting life total, so we were almost always going to do the 2 and scry 1. Chromatic Orrery for 7. You may spend mana as though it were any color. Tap, add 5 colorless, and then for 5, tap, draw a card for each color among permanents you control. This is really great for Karn. Why? Because Karn, well, once we pull this in, right, that means we have even more ability to play. And then Stimulus Package and Nissa would allow us to draw 2 cards each turn. So yeah, it's kind of rough, but because of Nissa, we'll have a lot of mana. So we'll almost always use the draw ability more than we'll use the colorless ability. Meteor Golem for 7. When this enters battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls. Obviously, we need removal every so often, so we would definitely use this. We have 2. They're just different. Oh yeah, so one's M19, one's M20. Okay, that explains it. And then last, Platinum Angel. If we have no way to win the game, or we're scared that we're not able to win the game, we'll grab that using Karn. So for 7 flying, you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. So how does this deck work? This deck has one mission only. Destroy lands using any of these cards, and then we'll dominate the late game using Nissa. So Stone Rain, Demolish, Tectonic Rift are going to keep them starved, while we grow with Growth Spiral, Eureka Moment, and Karn Living Legacy. Then we'll lock them out of the game with Liquid Metal Coating and Karn, while we also use Karn to destroy their lands as well. So we went over the land destruction package already. We've ran over the growth, the ramp, and card draw. Karn's going to lock them out. The other Karn is going to give us even more mana. And then Mythos of Aluna, Nissa Who Shakes the World, and Karn Living Legacy are both going to be our late game card, or all 3 going to be our late game cards. Mythos of Aluna is obviously going to make it so our opponent can't do anything. So what is our win condition? We have 3 of them. Either 1, our opponent just scoops because you can't do anything without mana. 2, we kill our opponent with Nissa Who Shakes the World's tokens. Or not tokens, excuse me, the elementals that are lands. Or we just lock our opponent out, because if our opponent has a whole bunch of artifacts, Karn's going to keep them from using them. And then because we have the ability to have 4 different liquid metal coatings, that means we can lock our opponent out of 4 different lands. Strengths and weaknesses. This destroys our opponents who have greedy mana bases or don't ramp very well. We ramp very well against our opponent, and we're able to lock them out. Con, we lose to mono red or mono white aggro most of the time. Graveyard recursion can, if they're able to pull lands out of the graveyard, that's means we will struggle. And counter spells early, especially the weak ones, are bad for us. So, if you enjoyed this deck tech, smash that like button, subscribe for more MTG content. Let me know in the comments which one of these is your favorite land destruction card, or what's your favorite land destruction combo. And then let me know what kind of decks you want to see. I got a comment on one of my other older videos, so we'll more than likely be going on another Aristocrats rant for a while. But until then, I will see you in the next video. Peace.